Welcome to Listen Up Now, to let you know what's going on in your world and my world. Your guy, my guy, Rye Guy.
Welcome back to the Listen Up Now podcast. Really excited to be here. We have an awesome guest here with us. We're joined by our super duper guest.
Hey, Barry Morgenstein, America's headshot photographer and the photographer of the new best-selling Rock and Soul.
Well, congratulations and welcome to the show, Barry. I'm going
Thank
to
you,
jump
guys.
right into it. And first of all, amazing book. But
Appreciate it.
the number one question I have is, what was your first camera?
I know it was a Nikon. Back in the film days, I was definitely using Nikon. I might have been an F3 if such a thing existed. I don't know why that seems to ring in my head. It was an F3 or it was definitely a Nikon.
And what made you get into photography?
When I was a teenager, I grew up a rock and roller, long-haired rock and roller. I played guitar. I wanted to be in a band, and I kind of was in a band, but it wasn't long before I realized I was pretty bad at playing guitar. So I had no future in the rock and roll business. But a lot of my friends were musicians. I picked up a camera and I just kind of started photographing my friends, and I kind of realized, you know what? I love music. I have a feel. I know how to capture these people, and this is kind of my into the music or rock and roll world. So that was kind of the beginning.
We've really been enjoying the book. We have it here, right here. I think something that really strikes me about the book is its ability to tell stories, and it spans decades. What changes do you feel have most shaped the way you work over that time?
I'm not a rock and roll concert photographer anymore. Now I'm a portrait headshot photographer. So yeah, those days are behind me. It's definitely different times. Of course, working digital now instead of the good old film days. No longer waiting to see if my photos came out or not.
That's right.
Yeah, that's really kind of the biggest changes. I don't shoot the concerts. There's not really a lot of bands I would even want to shoot these days. All the good guys are pretty much gone. So
Well, let's take it back a little bit. And I want to start with the cover of the book. Why those four images?
no, I wanted to cover because I have so many styles and it's rock and soul, but I always gonna call it a rock and roll book. But I've shot jazz, I've shot blues, I've shot folk, country, rock and roll, pop. So I wanted to feature, I think on the cover, it kind of represents. I've got the King of the Blues, B.B. King. I've got Paul McCartney, a Beatle, Miles Davis, jazz, Michael Jackson, King of Pop. So it kind of shows what you might expect inside, just a nice variety of a lot of different styles of different music, great musicians, legendary musicians.
And your portraits really have an instantly recognizable look. They're raw yet polished, intimate but powerful.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I kind of hesitated to do the book because there's so many great rock and roll photographers out there, and I'm thinking, oh well, how's mine going to be different? But I kind of not to brag, but I guess I think mine do stand out a little differently. I remember when I was young, when I first started shooting concerts, a buddy of mine, a mutual photographer, said, well, your photographers just look like portraits, kind of almost. Even the live stuff kind of looks like. Again, not bragging, but that's kind of what people said. And I think I kind of have that capture that in the book, hopefully.
Please brag because these photos are amazing. I went to your event here in the DMV, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's
And
great.
one of my favorite pictures I saw there was the Miles Davis.
Hmm.
Walk me through what you were thinking, if you can, during that time, because he's such an iconic
Right,
musical figure.
right.
But to be able to, one, wait for that shot per se, but two, I read there that it took him about an hour before he turned around.
Right, exactly. So
What was that like, just watching him up there?
So I'm hired to shoot this concert. And this guy Miles Davis, as anybody who knows him, obviously he was brilliant, but also a little bit probably quirky or eccentric, I guess would be the word. So he does what he wants, and he just whatever reason decided he's playing his back to the audience for the first full hours. And I'm just sitting there thinking, please turn around so I can get your photo. I was like, that's why I'm here. It's like finally he did, and and I got some pretty cool shots.
Well, let me ask you while you're there in that moment, as he's turning around, are you just like your fingers
Hey,
just hitting that button?
snapping away, shooting good because you never know. Is he going to turn around, back around? Is he going to turn his back? Is he only going to give me 10 seconds to shoot? So you got to shoot fast and just hope you get it.
And do you prefer doing shoots in the moment or more of a planned shoot?
Well, back in the rock and roll days, I think the concerts were great. They were challenging, and you're hearing the music, so you're feeling the music, so you're really inspired to get the shots, and they're challenging. It's not. It was always a lot of times difficult situations, but it was fun to. Sometimes you might have just two songs, that you're allowed to shoot in the photo pit, and they boot you out. So you really have to like concentrate, get that shot, work hard, and concentrate. do the light metering because again, it's not digital, so you can't see what you're shooting, or how it's coming out. So I enjoyed the concerts. You get to hear the music basically, especially if it's an act that I really love. So shooting somebody like Stevie Ray Vaughan, I'm in heaven shooting it, trying to enjoy the music at the same time, really trying to capture the image, but it makes it more enjoyable when you're loving the music.
Absolutely. Do you feel like having that passion for what you're doing results in a better product? Like, let's say if you were shooting one particular band or artist who you liked a lot versus another you weren't so keen on, did you find that those portraits would come out better typically?
That's a good question. You would think so because there were some bands that I really was not enjoying. But what you just kind of like maybe the lighting's really cool or the person looks really
Mm.
good. And they're great entertainers. So I think the photos come out equally as good, even if maybe you're not enjoying it. I had to do a few of like really loud heavy metal bands, which I'm not into, and it was just like, oh my God, my ears were blowing up. It's like, get me out of here at one point, but at the same time, it looks kind of cool. And I did get some killer shots. One example in the book is Megadeth was a band I shot in. I'm not into real heavy stuff, but you know what? It's one of my favorite shots in the book of Dave Mustaine. Just like it was a really cool capture with the lighting. That's it right there. I think you just turned to it.
Yes, I have it right here.
Right.
I love the
So,
red shots, by the way, with the red
yeah.
lighting. Some of my
Yeah,
favorite.
I think that was Madison Square Garden. And again, it was sometimes the situation was they would not let you use a flash. So you had to shoot the available light, which I guess was okay with me because to me those are the coolest shots. Like that one, the Miles Davis, again, very moody lighting. And that just fits that almost looks like it's on fire with Dave Mustaine there.
And when you're at a show, have you found the crowd to be supportive of what you're trying to do, or do they kind of just throw you to the side and you have to battle
Yeah,
the
I've had
shot?
some battles if you like in the photo pit, and it's like some again like a show like Megadeth or maybe a metal show, they might be a little more rowdier. And I remember, I think it was a show like that. I was in the photo pit, and some guy actually, I felt him spit on my neck. And then the lights went out, and they were escorting the photographers out, and my elbow accidentally hit him in the face, and I
There you
left.
go.
So
Sounds like
sometimes,
a classic mosh pit there. If you
yeah,
haven't
exactly.
experienced one, I highly don't recommend one. But
Right, exactly. Yeah. But that was a rare occasion. Usually you are in the photo pit, so you are not. I mean, not really in the crowds, the audience's way. This was a rare occasion, I guess. But yeah, no, usually they're okay.
Yeah, in this picture, amongst the many others in the book, all have that instantly recognizable look I was sort of touching on earlier. How did this signature style sort of develop for you?
I think it's again the title of the book, which came to me in the middle of the night. I couldn't think of a title, and it was like rock and soul. It's a lot of soul in the photos, there's
Okay.
feeling, emotion, and I think that's what I'm good at capturing. Again, maybe back to the love of music. But the same thing with portraits. When I do headshots and portraits, I think I capture the same thing.
have you ever had one of these artists come up to you after they've seen their picture and say, you know what, thank you, thank you?
Yeah, I guess I have. The one funny story is, unfortunately, we just lost Ace Frehley recently of Kiss, and I remember shooting. I did. It's actually a portrait, not a live shot. And I remember he was very picky, and he was like kind of questioning my lighting setup because he was very conscious of how he looked, I guess. And he was like, was worried that I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe it was early in my career, but later on, I found out that he said it was some of the best photos ever taken of him. So that was
Wow.
nice feedback to get.
Wow. And I feel like there's got to be that difference of being in that environment where it's a planned photo versus it's more impromptu where it's not so planned.
Right.
How do you approach a session to uncover the authentic version of someone in a setting like that? Let's say if it's someone like that musician there who was maybe a little nervous or guarded, for example.
Well, it's like anything I do. Like when I shoot like an actor or two these days, or an actress, or anybody, news person, it's just like you're just talking to them and making. I think they realize I'm just kind of like a laid back, in that case, a music fan. Wasn't like a stalker fan, but I was, just like a kind of a laid back guy, and I make them comfortable, and we just talk and hang out, and just then I start shooting, and I kind of capture them at ease.
And while we're on the subject of great actors that you have either worked with or participated, taking their photos of, the Gary Sinise and Lieutenant Dan band.
Mhm.
So many questions about that.
Yeah.
Why was that one of your favorites?
Well, one, I'm a big supporter of the military and veterans like Gary Sinise is. Of course, I admire him as an actor, but I admire him for what he does for our veterans. And so shooting that show, I was actually volunteering with another veterans organization, and I shot that concert. That one I've shot him a few times. I think that one was in New York during Memorial Day weekend. I forget the year, it probably says in the book. It just captures, as you see, the military, the veterans in front of the stage doing a selfie in front of his band, capturing Gary's expression, capturing the joy in the veterans. And I think my favorite, I don't know if I put this in the book, my favorite compliment I ever got on that photo is people say it reminds them of a Norman Rockwell painting. And Norman Rockwell's my favorite
Mm.
painter. So that was pretty cool.
Well, your dedication to America's veterans is definitely a powerful through line in your career. That's a very strong moment that you just referenced there. And I wanted to ask if you could share any maybe early moments or things that made you feel inspired to sort of get more involved with that cause or helping veterans in that
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, that's a good question. It was probably more when I started shooting headshots and portraits, and I started shooting news people, maybe some political people. Now I'm like the go-to guy for veterans and law enforcement in New York City for a lot of them coming to.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
Listen,
you.
that's very important. You know, it's
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, and I'm proud of that. And it's like I work a lot with the Blue magazine, which is a nation's leading law enforcement magazine. And it's funny. I always say back then, I would love to have hang out with Mick Jagger or Jimmy Page. Today, I'd love to hang out with a Navy SEAL or Marine. It's like,
mm.
I know that's not related to the book, but it's like, to me, they're the rock star, the real rock stars.
Well,
They're
maybe it sounds like a new book in the making there.
that's
Navy,
some
hey,
people have been
listen, it'd
talking
be
to me
good
about
to see
that.
some of these people as far as what
Right.
they're doing for the country and how they're helping,
Yeah.
everyone promote
It's
our
it.
veterans.
Trust me, that's been in talks, so it's possible, very possible. A book on patriots and veterans. Yeah, but ever since I was young, I just even back in my rock and roll days, I was a big World War II film buff too. I love World War II movies and military movies when I was a kid. Probably because my I used to look over my dad's shoulder watching Patton, and I kind of, so I kind of just really got into that. So I think that just kind of stuck with me, and then I really started, admiring obviously what they do for our country and getting to know them. They're the most humble, nicest people too.
And I feel like from reading someone who's maybe just read the book, maybe they don't realize you're so deeply committed to the family photography and commercial branding aspect of the work. How does your approach shift when capturing a rock star versus, say, a family or a CEO?
Uh, yeah, that's a good question. I guess, I think I'm always not like my personality changes when somebody comes in. I'm just on myself. So it's just, again, a matter of just hanging out and chatting with people and making them comfortable. So yeah, I don't think there's any different approach. If it's a family, I may not have the same soundtrack going if it's a, if it's a,
Sure,
you
just still being your same authentic self
Yeah,
through
yeah, yeah.
any
I'm
pictures.
kind of known in my studio. I have my little famous jukebox that has my playlist playing, so people love the playlist I have going on. So I mean that helps the mood too. We have music going on and just like real friendly atmosphere. So
And what are one of your favorite songs to play when you're trying to make the environment a little less stressful?
I don't know about a song, but I mean artists. It could be anywhere. If I want a laid back mood, I might have Billie Holiday. If
Mm.
it's one more upbeat, Led Zeppelin, the Stones. The Beatles, something like that. Sly and the Family Stone is a favorite in the studio. At least that gets me going. Hopefully it gets hopefully the client is happy too. It gets to the point. I think I used to in the beginning. I used to ask my clients, "Well, what kind of music do you like to listen to while we're shooting?" And they would pick. And I think one time I had a client pick Britney Spears, and I had to listen to that for the entire shoot. So I stopped asking people what they wanted. I just played what I want. So, but they're usually happy.
That's good. Got to set the tone. Sometimes
Right.
if you give too much authority
Exactly.
on that end, they can start putting
Right.
on something
Backfire.
else.
Right. Yeah. Photographer can't be miserable. Listen to bad music.
And and that might fall into a category of something a young photographer might make a mistake doing, maybe giving
Right.
too much power to the person they're
Exactly.
taking
Don't
pictures
ask them to
to.
pick the music.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see these new photographers making today? And what sort of advice would you pass on to that next generation?
So maybe not even today's photographers, just photographers in general. I used to hear things like, oh God, I shot with this photographer. And he was so rude, or he was like had an attitude. Is like, don't have an attitude. First of all, there's nothing to have an attitude about. It's like, just you're supposed to make the client feel comfortable, so you're supposed to be friendly and make them feel comfortable and relaxed. It's supposed to be a fun experience, so don't have an attitude and don't just be friendly. I just get people who's and another. I guess another advice I do give people is ignore rejection. We all
Mhm.
get rejection. I have got rejected many times from people, and you could get frustrated and just give up, say, all right, I guess I'm not good at this, move on to something else. I always tell people, you know what? They told Elvis Presley to go back to truck driving, and So somebody said that to him too. So good thing he didn't listen. You get negative feedback, and if you believe in what you do and you really love what you do, then just keep pushing forward, and you'll be all
Well,
right.
clearly your book is full of passion and purpose here. And what was that first yes you got that made you say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm stepping into a new level into my craft"?
Yeah, I don't think there's an artist or a person that I can really remember saying that. I just remember, early on, again, people said, "Yeah, you have a knack for capturing musicians." Like I said, my a buddy of mine years ago kind of said that, made that statement, that they kind of stand out my live shots more like portraits. So it was just early on feedback. Same thing with portraits too in the studio. I could just feel the feedback that they would look at the photos and I was get a wow. Back then with portraits, instead of seeing the film right away, it was a Polaroid camera. So you'd pull out the Polaroid
Do
and
I
show it.
remember it?
Yeah. So, but when I hear the wow or like, oh my God, then they really relax
Mm.
because they know they're looking good. So makes the shoot go smoother and easier. So it was those early, a lot of those examples when I thought I was onto something, and glad I gave up guitar.
Well, it seems like it all worked out for you. You found your true passion, even though the guitar might be fun from time to time. We are getting just about at the time here, and we really appreciate you giving this time here to share
Yes.
a little bit about your story, your expertise, and just as big fans of the book, just also giving some more context to some of these pictures and experiences has been really awesome to hear. So we thank you again, Barry, for all
Thank
that.
you. Appreciate that.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and I want to know what is the second book you're going to release and when?
Yeah, actually, people have been asking for Rock and Soul Part 2 already because I do have a lot of more images. There's some I left out. I was like, oh my God, why did I leave that out? And I'm thinking because I have thousands of slides.
Mm.
But at the same time, like we talked about earlier, people have been saying, trying to get me to do a portrait book too of my portraits, maybe leaning towards a theme of, patriots or veterans too.
Yeah, that
Law
would be
enforcement. So,
amazing.
hopefully that'll be down the road. I'm with a really great publishing company that I happen to find, Ballast Books. So the thing is, this is their first coffee table
Okay.
music book. But what they do, they almost all their books, if you check them out, it's all veterans, all military theme books, veterans. So it's an honor to be with them. So they're really pushing me to do that down the road too. I think they're excited about that too. If you want to get the book, the thing is, it became a unexpected bestseller now on Amazon. So we
Wow.
are actually selling out really fast. And it's not a sales pitch, it's just the truth. We
Well,
ordered a
it's not
thousand.
unexpected, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
No,
no.
it is expected. Listen, I got
Well,
my signed copy here. Thank you for, making it out to our podcast. And more
yeah,
importantly, we would love to run this back and talk more about your initiatives moving forward with that veterans book and everything else you're doing in the DMV.
I appreciate that. I was going to say too that they just go to my website if you do want to buy the book. It's sold out on Amazon. My website has it. You'll get a signed copy, barrymorgenstein.com.
We appreciate it. We're going to put the link up. Here's the cover
Thank
of
you,
the book right now. An absolutely
guys.
amazing conversation.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.